All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about why low cost offers drive 10 times more clients and revenue for your med spa or aesthetic practice. And so this is really important. A low cost offer is also known as like a steep discount or some kind of promotional offer. This is really important if you're looking to run ads for your med spa or aesthetic practice, whether it's Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google, YouTube, TikTok, it doesn't matter. In this video, we'll talk about how to get the greatest amount of people to show interest in your services while also not having to waste your time with tire kickers or time wasters. Stick to the end of this video, and I'm also going to give you some actionable strategies that you can use to get more high quality leads. So more people that are they're willing and able to invest in your higher ticket treatments or packages. So when talking with owners of med spas or aesthetic practices, I tend to hear the same thing over and over. Most people want to run ads to something that I would consider is mid-ticket. And so what I mean by mid-ticket is something that is somewhere between like $199 all the way up to like $500 or more on the higher end. And so just to give you an example, let's say that you have a $350 body sculpting treatment. So usually one session is 350 bucks. Let's say we took that treatment, we added in 2 bonuses, we slapped a name on top of it, and now we have a $299 package that we want to run ads to, right? So that would kind of be an example of what most owners would prefer to do, is kind of play in the higher price range for their ads. And the thought process is, okay, we tried running ads before, we ran ads to something that was less than $100 and it was terrible and it only got us like crappy leads. Therefore, it will inevitably be the same if we do that again, right? A higher price, if we use a higher price in our ads, it will scare away the people who don't have money, right? So people that don't have disposable income will see that we're advertising a package for 300 bucks and they just won't submit their information. And on top of that, the higher price in our ad will also attract the people that do have disposable income, right? So these people that have money are just going to see that you're charging more than everybody else and be like, oh, like they must be the premium luxury med spa. Like I want to invest my money with them instead of these other med spas in our area, right? That's kind of the thought process. And thus we should be advertising something mid-ticket. That's usually the conclusion that a lot of med spa owners come to. Now, there's really 2 approaches when you're running ads, okay? There's really only 2 approaches. There's sort of 3. Number 1 is to run ads to a low ticket offer. So I would consider something low ticket if it's like $19 on the low end up to $99 on the high end. Using a price point like this, you will get higher volume. So you'll get more leads, assuming that you're advertising something good, but you will get more tire kickers as well. So you'll get more time wasters this way. The second option is to run ads to a mid-ticket offer. So something that's like 199 bucks or more, and you will get lower volume inevitably, because by using a higher price point, you will just get less people to submit their information. That's pretty much a fact. But less tire kickers, allegedly, right? I personally don't think that's the case based on my experience, and I'll talk about that later in this video. But the idea here is that we can either play the volume game, so get as many leads as possible, knowing that a lot of them aren't going to be good quality, or we can run the low volume game, but we're going to get more quality people. Okay. And the third-ish option is to run ads to a free consult. I don't even really count that, because most people just see a free consultation as a sales call in disguise or a sales appointment in disguise. And your market probably doesn't see consultations or complimentary consultations as something that's super valuable anyways. So I wouldn't run them in an ad by themselves. But in this video, I want to explain why I believe option number 1, so running something low ticket, something between $19 to $99, is the superior option if you care about making more money, even though you would be charging less on the front end. And so it seems a little bit counterintuitive. It's like, why would we run something for 50 bucks if we're trying to make more money and make this more profitable? But that's what we're going to cover in this video. So the first thing I want to touch on is not asking for marriage on the first date. So I want you to imagine that you're going on a first date, okay? Instead of getting to know the other person first, you immediately just drop down on one knee and you propose to that person on the very first date. Most people, like on the receiving end, would be incredibly overwhelmed. They would probably back away. And this is due to a fear of commitment, right? They don't want to commit to you yet because they don't even know who you are. And they'd probably be just scared of you, right? They probably think that you're a total weirdo because you're proposing to them on the first date, right? When running ads, going straight to a mid-ticket item, so something that's, $200, $300, $400, is sort of like asking to go on a long extended vacation with someone that you just met before you've even had the first date, right? So with someone that you just met before you've even had the first date. The odds of them saying yes to going on that extended vacation with you is basically less than 1%, because they haven't met you yet, they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. They literally know nothing about you. So if you wanted somebody to go on a trip with you, it would probably make the most sense to, go on a few dates first, right? Get to know each other, make sure that you're a good match and that they're not like an absolute total disaster of a person before you ask them to go on that trip, right? That probably makes sense. Similarly, it makes sense for you to provide something of value to your potential clients first before you ask them to commit to your mid-ticket or higher ticket treatments, okay? And just to continue to kind of nail this idea home, low ticket offers are similar to the casual first date, right? It's a low pressure way for potential clients to get to know your services, try you out, try out the treatment, make sure that your business isn't sketchy, make sure that they like you. And then once they see the value and they feel comfortable and you've given them an incredible experience, they are more likely to commit to a higher investment. And so usually the path that I recommend is we start with something low ticket. And then from there, once people are in and you've given them the incredible experience, then we can try to upsell them into something mid ticket. So something $300, $400, $500. And then once we've given them an incredible experience with that, then we can try to get them into something high ticket, like a high ticket treatment plan or package of some sort. Now, some people have success going straight from low ticket to high ticket. It really depends on what you're advertising, but this is usually what I recommend. And then from there, if someone buys your high ticket thing, you can sell them more stuff, like if you have products, or you can try to get them into a recurring thing, like if they come in for maintenance treatments, or if you get them on like a monthly membership or something like that. Most people, what they try to do is they skip out on low ticket altogether and they want to go straight to mid ticket. So straight to something that's like $200 or $300. And then from there, immediately go to high ticket. And you're missing out on this massive opportunity to build up a ton of trust and a ton of rapport with people by getting them in the door with your low ticket thing, where it's kind of like, hey, why don't you just try us out first? We don't have to commit to each other. We don't know each other. This is just the first date, right? We're just trying to get to know each other. Okay. And so I want to give you a real world example with this. A med spa owner that I spoke to recently, she was telling me about this story. I think it's super relevant. She said that there's this med spa down the street from her, and they take the typical approach, right? They try to get you in the door and then they immediately go for the kill with a $2,000 package. Now, what happens is most people don't feel comfortable and they end up leaving, right? And then they show up to her business instead and they tell her about the horror story with the med spa down the street. It's like, oh, I went and they tried to immediately sell me this $2,000 package and like it was kind of weird and like I didn't feel comfortable and they were like being super salesy and pressured me and blah, blah, all this stuff, right? Instead of doing the exact same thing as what the med spa down the street does, she instead offers them something low ticket first. Kind of like, hey, why don't you just try us out before committing to anything? Then they inevitably end up loving the service. They love the results that they got from it. They end up coming back and they end up spending way more than $2,000 over the lifetime of being a customer. Right. And so as you can see with that example, just because this individual in particular was willing to be patient and willing to give people an opportunity to try something out at a lower cost, right? She's not making as much on the front end, but because she was willing to be patient, she ended up winning that customer and also getting way more than the $2,000 that the med spa down the street was trying to charge for upfront. Okay. So if you are in this for the short run and you're just trying to use ads or whatever you're doing as a way to make as much profit and as much money as you can immediately, then don't even bother running ads. It's not worth your time. I can guarantee you, you will never be profitable. If you are just trying to run something on the front end, right? So you're just trying to run a front end offer for a couple $100 so that you can make a little bit of profit on the front end, don't even bother. Like I'm telling you right now, save your money. It's better off somewhere else. It's not worth running ads. But if you're in this for the long run, then you need to be willing to give people the opportunity to try you out before you ask for a bigger commitment. Okay. Now, I can already hear your objections to this, but Josh, like when we advertise something for less than $100, the leads are terrible, right? We get a bunch of people who like, they only want the really good deal. We want to use something that's like $200 or more because it'll weed out the non-serious people and it'll only attract the people that have disposable income. But let me tell you why this is extremely flawed thinking. So this first idea of like, oh, we're weeding out the tire kickers or the time wasters. When you use a higher priced package in your ad, you will absolutely weed out the tire kickers, right? If you advertise something for $300 or $400 or $200, whatever it is, you will get rid of the people that are just going to waste your time, right? But you're also weeding out all the people who have disposable income, right? I don't care how much disposable income someone has. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Okay, let me repeat that. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. There likely aren't millionaires in your area throwing their money around willy-nilly to companies that they've never heard of before and just discovered for the first time by scrolling on Instagram, right? there aren't a lot of people who are going to be like scrolling and they're like, oh yeah, like I have so much money. Like I don't know anything about this business. I don't even know if this is a scam or not. I'm just going to throw them like $500 on the first treatment, right? It's nonsense, right? That's not how human psychology works. Okay. And the second idea here is like, oh, like we're only going to get the serious people if we with disposable income who see the price on our front end offer like for $300 or whatever, and they're okay with paying that. So like we're only going to attract the serious people. But this has rarely ever been my experience. Okay, I've run ads for clients who insist on running an offer for $200, $300, $400, and not only does it cost us way more, right? It costs us like $30, $40, $50 per lead, but it's also extremely hard to get in touch with these leads. And I don't know why. I have a theory for why, which I'll go over here. My guess is that they see your ad and in the moment they're like super excited. They're ready to go. They're ready and they're willing to commit $200, $300, $400 to finally solve their problem. Then as soon as they've scrolled some more, they watched a whole bunch of cat videos on Instagram or whatever, and then all of a sudden your business starts to call them or text them and try to get in touch about the thing they just opted in for, reality starts to set in, right? They come back down to earth. Now all of a sudden they're thinking, I don't know this business. Like I've never even heard of them. Are they in our local area? Are they any good? Are they sketchy? Are they going to get me results? Does this hurt? And then that naturally leads to the next thought of, I don't think I want to actually spend $400 on a treatment with a company I don't know, that I've never met before, I have no relationship with. And this carries throughout the entire sales process, right? Once someone has determined this, they're not going to pick up your calls because they're going to see your call coming in and be like, oh yeah, that's that company that's charging $400 for the thing that I don't even know if I want it, right? For the ones who do pick up your call, they're going to be fixated on the price and why is it so high? Like, why is your price so high? And for the people who end up booking on those calls, they're not going to show up because a couple hours before the appointment, they're going to realize, oh, I forgot I have to pick my kids up, or, I forgot that I did this thing, or I just got in a car accident, or whatever people say. People come up with the craziest excuses for why they can't show up to their appointment. But because it's higher ticket and they feel a little bit of like apprehension, it's like, I don't know if I want to spend $400 with this company I've never heard of before. Pretty reasonable, honestly. Like I probably wouldn't want to either. So what should you do instead, right? You might be thinking, okay, fine, we'll run an ad for a lower priced package or treatment of some sort between $19 and $99. But aren't we just going to get a whole bunch of tire kickers, time wasters, etc.? Yes, you will absolutely get tire kickers and time wasters. That's an inevitable part of running ads to cold traffic, people that have never heard of you before. Like, welcome to running ads, okay? But it's up to you to filter through your leads and find the people who are actually serious, okay? My preference here is that first we advertise something super irresistible. That's a non-negotiable. The goal is to get an absolute stranger to see your ad and immediately think like, whoa, I know nothing about this business. I didn't even know they were in my area, but that is way too good to be true. Like I at least need to get a little bit more information on that because that's pretty awesome, right? This way we maximize the amount of leads we get because people see that and they submit their information just out of sheer curiosity. They're like, that's super good. What's the catch? I need to find out. And the reason we do that is because one of the worst situations that you can be in as a business owner is having no leads at all, right? So we need to advertise something super irresistible. And I usually I prefer to do that with a lower ticket price point to get the highest amount of leads that we can possibly get. Next, what we do is we systematically filter out the time wasters and put 80% of our focus on the people who are actually serious. And now your question is probably like, okay, that's great in theory, but how do we filter out the time wasters? Well, my favorite ways of doing that, I have two favorite ways of doing that, are with an intro call funnel and with a prepaid funnel. So let me explain what both of those things are. So the first way is with an intro call funnel. So once we get the lead, it's our job to figure out who's serious about actually coming in and paying and eventually upselling into higher ticket treatment plans and who isn't serious. And one of my favorite ways to do that is by introducing an intro call funnel or an intro call into our process. So in other words, the lead must speak to someone over the phone. It is a non-negotiable. They must speak with someone over the phone in order to schedule an appointment. They can't schedule on your website. They can't book in over text. They must speak to a real human being and have an actual legitimate conversation with someone over the phone. So in this case, it would go, okay, you get a new lead, you follow up with them by calling them and texting them, and then you inevitably get them on, or you eventually get them on an intro phone call with someone on your team, and then you book the appointment on that call. And we're also going to stop manually calling the people who aren't picking up after a week or so. Like, we're going to try to call people for the first week or so. If they're not picking up, they were probably just going to be a time waster or a tire kicker anyways. And so we just stop calling them. We stop wasting our time with them. But we do continue to text that person. I've found that leads will like randomly decide they're ready a few months from now, right? They might submit their information today, then something happens in their life, and then you send them a text 3 months from now and they're like, yeah, I think I want to do that appointment now, right? So you don't want to just discard people who aren't responding to you. You want to, stay in touch with them just less frequently. Now, the structure of the intro call is incredibly important. Okay, this is not something that we should just skip over. This is not an appointment setting call, right? So the purpose of this call is not to set the appointment. The goal isn't to get as many people as you possibly talk to book in for an appointment. The goal is to qualify and educate on this call, okay? Then and only then, if it's a fit, you book them in. Okay, so during the call, what we need to do is we need to first identify the problem that they're trying to solve. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with somebody and I'm like, oh, well, what motivated you to reach out to learn more about our treatment? And they're like, oh, I saw that you guys were running this super amazing offer. And so I thought I'd get more information. Okay, that's great. But what's the problem, right? Like, why did you submit your information? It's not just because you saw a great deal. Like, you're not probably just submitting your information on stuff all day long. Like, what is the true underlying reason? And so another way you could be like, okay, that's great. Like, love it. I love to see that, you're interested in the offer, but I'm just curious, like, what's your goal, right? Like, what are you trying to achieve with this treatment? Okay. And then you can start to kind of remove the layers and dig deeper. Okay. So that's step one. You don't move forward until you understand the problem that they want to solve. From there, only once you understand the problem, then you can explain your solution very briefly. And I mentioned briefly because we don't want to go into paragraphs about how the treatment works and, radio frequency and all this crazy stuff, right? We just want to do like 1 to 3 sentences, just quickly explaining the solution and then also explaining the package that we are giving to them and why it's such an incredible deal, and explain that, hey, there's no catch, right? There's no strings attached. We're actually giving you an amazing deal. Number 3 here is to make them aware of the upfront price. So make them aware, hey, this is going to cost you however much when you come in, and you are expected to pay that upon arrival. And you're going to give them a range for what it costs after the first appointment if they ask. So if somebody doesn't ask and say like, oh, how much is it afterwards, then I usually just leave that to, it makes more sense for you to tell them that in person. But if someone says, okay, well, obviously, like, I'm not going to come in, like for weight loss, for example, like, I'm not going to come in and lose 50 pounds after the first appointment. So like, how much does it cost afterward? We don't withhold that information. We say, hey, great question. Our most expensive, or our highest ticket rather, weight loss program is around $5,000. And the lowest one is around like $1,200. And we have all sorts of things in between. We typically customize it specific to you. But how does that sound? Or does that sound like something you'd be able to swing, right? Yes, great. Okay, now we can schedule them for the appointment. If you cannot check off each of these points, do not schedule them, right? So if you can't clearly articulate, okay, I understand what the problem is that this person is trying to solve. We've told them about our solution and briefly how it works. We've explained what they're going to get in the first appointment. We've made them aware that they are going to pay us on the first appointment, and we've also given them a range of how much it typically costs after the first appointment if they've asked. Some people prefer to just say this no matter what. I usually prefer to just say it only if they ask. But if we can't check each of those 4 points off, don't schedule them in for an appointment. Just don't waste your time, right? Find a way to politely exit the call. But if they're like being super, they're not telling you what the problem is, and they're like, I submitted my information because I saw you guys were running a great deal. Okay, great. Like, tell me a little more about that, blah, blah, blah. If they're not giving you anything, don't schedule them in. Just politely get off the call, okay? Now, why does this work? Well, we get lots of leads with a super awesome upfront offer. We create filters to remove the time wasters. And in this case, the filters are, okay, in order to get this super awesome offer, you must speak with us first. So you must speak to a human being, okay? Naturally, people who are just going to waste your time probably aren't willing to get on the phone with you for a 5 or 10 minute call. And so naturally, you're just getting rid of a whole bunch of people that way. Second thing here is, in order to book the appointment, you must explain to us the problem that you're having. And this makes some people uncomfortable. And if people aren't willing to explain the problem, then it's likely that, they likely don't have a painful enough problem, and they're likely not willing to spend money to solve that problem anyways. Okay. The third filter is that it is clear that you will be paying us for the upfront offer upon arrival, because we've told them this is how much it costs and this is how much you're going to pay us. And you are completely aware of what it costs afterwards, because if they say, hey, what's the price afterwards, you give them a range. And so if they're willing to schedule the appointment after all of these 4 things, then you've run them through filters to make sure that they're actually serious. And so what this results in is appointments with people who have already built up some rapport with you because they've talked to somebody from your team on the phone. They've expressly stated that they have the problem that you can solve with your treatment. They are ready to pay you on the first visit, and they are aware of your higher prices, okay? If someone is willing to book an appointment with you after all of those things, then it is much more likely that they are going to be willing to ascend into mid-ticket or higher ticket treatment plans or packages after the fact. Now, second thing that we can do here is a prepaid funnel. So this is my second favorite way to identify your high quality leads. For this one, what we do is someone must prepay for their appointment before they ever get access to your team to schedule. And so this one's a little bit more advanced, and it works better for like low ticket items. So if you're running an ad for something that's like $19, maybe like 70 or 80 bucks on the highest end, what you would do is you would go, okay, we got a new lead. You send them to a page to prepay for the treatment or for the appointment right off the gate. So if it's like a $49 offer, they submit their information, you redirect them to a page where it's like, okay, pay the $50 on this page, right? And you include all sorts of incentives and bonuses and reasons why they should do that in the first place. Then from there, most people probably won't prepay, so you have to follow up with them by calling them and texting them, and then you kind of just fall into the same process as before. You have the intro phone call, same exact process as before, and then you book the appointment then and there. Now, like I said here, we're still going to follow up with people even if they don't prepay, because most people won't prepay, and we don't just want to like discard leads because they didn't prepay. So why does this work? Well, again, we get lots of leads with an awesome offer. We create filters. And in this case, the filter is, in order to get this super awesome offer, you have to pay for it right now, not later, right now, right? Pretty straightforward. This is a lot harder to pull off because, again, people still don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. And we're already asking for money. And so it's really important that the offer has to be really, really strong for this to work. Like, you have to have a great, excellent offer with amazing bonuses and like urgency for why you should act right now. You also need to have a lot of before and after pictures, a lot of testimonials, a lot of proof that shows like, hey, you're going to get the result with this, right? And the result for you is appointments with people who have already committed monetarily. And at the end of the day, people who commit monetarily are usually more invested and more likely to buy again, right? Like I said here, it's a lot easier to get someone who's paid you once to pay you a second time than it is to get someone to pay you for the first time. So if you can get somebody to pay for something, even if it's like 50 bucks on the front end, it is much more likely that they will then buy a mid-ticket or a high-ticket treatment plan or package upon arrival. So long story short, what I prefer to do is use a low ticket offer to maximize the amount of leads that we're getting, so to get as many leads as possible. And then from there, we use our sales process to eliminate the time wasters and get rid of the tire kickers, whether that's an intro call funnel or a prepaid call funnel. And then from there, what we can do is we can spend 80% of our time and effort on the people who have indicated that they are serious. And what this will result in for you is more bookings overall, right? You're going to get way more bookings doing it this way, which means more at-bats for you to sell your mid-ticket or higher ticket treatment plans or packages, which at the end of the day means more revenue. And so you can run a mid-ticket offer, but you're going to get way less leads. They're going to cost you way more. It's going to be equally as hard to get in touch with them, and they're probably going to ghost you on the appointment. Or you can do it this way, where instead of making it super hard or making it super unlikely for someone to become a lead, we make it easier for them by using something lower ticket. They submit their information, and then from there, you use your sales process to naturally weed out the people who aren't serious in that moment. So that's all I got for you on this video. If you have any questions, comment them down below. Go ahead and hit the link in my description if you want to chat about how we could build this for your business, and I'll see you in the next one.